for people watching who are recognizing, okay, I'm in this, I get this. This is me. It has me written all
Mm,
over this or something. How do they release themselves? Right? How do you get out of this double bind if that's something that you're struggling with?
Usually it shows up in a bigger context. So we oftentimes don't solve it in the parent child side, adult child relating. That's the place where it keeps it's alive, and the level of we haven't been able to work it out in that context. So for many of us, we're not going to be able to work it out in that context. And sometimes we need a bigger context to illuminate how these messages are illogical, and that there's actually a no-win situation here. And so what this means is we find ourselves off. This plays out a lot in work environments, how we orient to work and how we have coworkers and a boss. And a lot of times what is at stake is we're either sabotaging our career, or we're going to ruin work relationships, and that's going to influence even our livelihood, meaning our survival around getting a paycheck. So the stakes are so high, and we could see how we oftentimes create work in situations or find work situations that are mirroring the same impossible double binds. And it's because we now realize, like, the distress, the crisis of my livelihood is now being threatened, that we start to open up and see, hey, I want to see this a little differently. We already mentioned the grief. It's incredible grief work. It's this crushing grief to say, I have distanced myself and protected myself from this kind of grief for so long, and I really need to be able to, for the first time, say, I am not going to get the relationship that I want with my parent.
Yeah.
And that's I can, like, in this moment, I just feel the heaviness of coming back to ritual and healing work and therapy of what does my grief need today,
Mm,
and how can I keep practicing being okay with not getting my attachment needs met.
right. Yeah. There you go.
That's such a paradox. We'll
Mhm.
be able to grow and create stronger connections of attachment and bonding with others, the more we're able to be disappointed that we're not going to get the bonding and attachment that we so much would love to have with a parent. And I want to make a distinction. I say the word parent, and I'm sure many of your audience already know this. We don't necessarily mean literally the parent. If I say want to have a relationship with a parent, I don't necessarily mean the physical real world person. I'm also talking about the internalized introject, the psychic parent that we've created in our head.
Mhm.
At this point, it's not so much how we're really going to have, many of us have accepted and say, I don't think I'm going to have a real world relationship with my flesh and blood person who happens to be my parent. But this dynamic is still playing out in our minds through this interject.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's also in a way doubly hard, because we're
Mhm.
not just walking away from the person, we're reorganizing our whole psychic structure around how we orient to relationship,
Right.
and to really say, I can no longer show up as a child.
Mhm.
I really need to, like, show up as an adult with my parent, be that
Right.
the real world person, or be that the psychic interject.
Right. Yeah. Oh, this is fascinating conversation, Alan. I love this. It's there. We're going very deep. We have lots of different.
I hope it's not too confusing. I mean, I'll be
No,
honest with you, my internal process too, it's like, wow, this is confusing stuff.
but I think it's good. I think it's good. I mean, I think a lot of people want to go deeper into this and really get an even better understanding of that. Yes, childhood attachment, how it relates to your current, state as an adult. So I think it's fascinating. I love it. So people
Thank you.
should listen and watch over and over again so they get,
Let me share, want to revisit just a couple ideas about double binds, and still there's more, and or I don't feel that I, completely satisfied your question, which is like, what are the solutions? What are we doing? There was, some of that, but this is what a couple things I wrote down for today for preparation. The messaging, the double bind messaging, we're a loving family. We love each other. People who love each other are close. So that's like the first, these are like stories, if X, then Y. And, then if Y is, and then you have to keep doing the math, and then you keep coming like, this doesn't make sense.
Right.
So the first part, maybe this is the X, I don't know, but, we are a loving family. We love each other. People who love each other are close. So then here's the double bind enters. If you don't feel close, that will not be heard or validated. You not being close won't be heard or validated, because we've already established we're a loving family and family members are close. And we just keep looping in that same, that's the double bind.
Right.
So, and along the same ideas, if you ask for change in our relationship, your request will be nullified, because people who love each other are already close, and close people don't need to change. There's nothing to change.
Right. Yeah. Yes. I just see this infinity loop kind of cycling around and around. Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah. So do you want to share anything else before we start wrapping up around anything else around solutions to the?
Let's revisit solution. To me, it's about rational mind and looking at the illogicalness of this. So we really need to strengthen our logic. We know with attachment trauma and being in our adult relationships that we have this great propensity for distorting reality and seeing things that aren't there, either to assign meaning where there's no meaning, or to engage in some denial, to ignore red flags and to say like, this relationship is not good for me. But we have this great skill at distorting reality. And so the antidote to that is to really value rational thinking. Not, my intuition says, not going down that route, and, not say the universe is instructing me to. Those are all lovely, wonderful things. We need those tools in our tool bag those tools in our tool bag as well. However, to really strengthen, do I know how to think logically? And when I can see the double bind is an impossible, illogical riddle, I'm not going to stay perpetually in a state of confusion and or keep confusing myself. I need to make a rational, logical choice. Related to this, a solution is intolerance, which I always think is fun to say because, for the most part, we always teach tolerance, have tolerance. But in this scenario, we were trained to tolerate one-sided, non-relating. We were trained to tolerate absence. We were trained to tolerate what I call they're not there relating. My parents there, but my parents not really there.
Yeah.
And I have this incredible skill set of tolerating being in one-sided relationships with people who are not really there for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So my solution, while using rational thinking, strengthening my ability to think clearly through logic, is to also strengthen the skill of intolerance. And that we could translate into the language of, the action step there is our boundaries. I need stronger boundaries because, if I have stronger boundaries, I'm not going to tolerate being in relationship for the next 15 years that's based on one-sided non-relating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I love that you bring in the logical thought too, because it reminds me of my partner Ike and I have kind of this joke. We're very playful about personal development, and I have a tendency to believe that I know what he's thinking. So
right.
That's right.
AVAIYA has changed my life.
AVAIYA has made me the woman I am today.
AVAIYA is my home.
AVAIYA is personal freedom.
AVAIYA is the reason my life continuously improves.
Let everyone in your life know about AVAIYA.
Everyone needs to know about this amazing company.
Thank you, AVAIYA, for appearing in my inbox.
What ALLEN and Ande Anderson have created at AVAIYA is what the world needs.